Recently, I've gotten quite a few comments asking about my pedal board, which is prominently featured in a lot of my shorts and TikTok videos. So today I figured why not just give you the grand tour and go over all of them, what pedals I use, what I use them for, what the order of the chain is, etc. The board is never really in a final state. I always like to swap in and out various things for whatever I use them for, but how it is in this video is for the most part how I usually use it. And most important of all, and I can't really believe I'm saying this, but be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. The first pedal in the chain is a volume pedal. It's an Ernie Ball VP Jr. Usually my mentality when I buy pedals is I like to buy things that are, can serve a variety of purposes, or I can use them for a lot of different things, different applications and such. But this one I just kind of bought to do cool volume swells and a re-recording of my fan favorite track, Circadian Cycle.
She takes off her clothes. That's cool, I suppose.
Aside from that, it's just a foot-activated volume controller. I don't really use it unless I'm trying to mute the signal. It also serves as an easy way to plug my guitar into my pedals without having to clear this tall metal ledge, but more on that later.
I bought this pedal because it produces a very specific, nasty sound. It is very much a flavor effect for me, to be used in specific cases to add some pizzazz. It is a clone of a Gaetone WR-3 Wah Rocker, which is a sister pedal to the Funky Box, a pedal used by Yoshikane So, or Casio Man of Zazen Boys fame.
Pretty early on in my playing, my friend gave me this Crybaby Wah pedal, which I've used for a lot of different things, and it's nice because you can be really expressive with it. But at some point I decided I wanted my playing volume to dictate the filter, so I didn't have to just be attached to my pedal board all the time. And so that was kind of the reason why I got that. I kind of looked around for different pedals to see what I liked as far as sound quality in terms of a filter, and I kind of just settled on this one. It's mean, it's crude, it's nasty, but I love it.
I've always said the whammy pedal is my favorite pedal of all time. That might not be true as time goes on, but it's still high up there for me. I wanted to be able to play the cool sounds of the Killing in the Name solo by Rage Against the Machine, but I slowly started to realize that a lot of my favorite players like Johnny Greenwood and Jack White also use this for various applications, which is when I really started to use it to its fullest potential. I really like the variety of weird and interesting sounds you can make with it. I certainly think it's a pedal that you can be very creative with. I feel like I always find new and interesting ways to use this pedal, which I guess is why I like it so much.
For the utilitarians, it can be used less weirdly as a chorus pedal with the detune settings. I've considered trading it in to get the next generation, which has an extra mode switch, but this one has lasted me such a long time and I love it, so I'm not really gonna get rid of it.
The whammy has a wet and dry out, and the dry out leads to this tuner. There's no reason why I picked this one specifically, it's just the one I ended up with. I have it routed this way because I don't really need it in the chain to mute my signal since I already have the volume pedal, and I just prefer not to add it unnecessarily. So this is a new addition to my videos, even though it's not exactly new to me. I know some people are rushing to the comments saying I bought into the hype with this pedal, but I've actually owned it for over 10 years. I used to have this Bugera 6262 half stack, which is an amp based off of the EVH 5150, and I used this pedal to get a really nice overdrive sound that I liked. When I sold that amp and I bought a Vox AC15, this pedal and that amp combined didn't quite sound right to my ears, so I got an OCD to use with that amp. But I kept this pedal because I knew I liked it so much, and I'm glad I did because now the OCD is out and this pedal is in. I guess something about this pedal finally clicked with me and the Vox.
This pedal really creates an overdrive sound that I know and love, and it's not really because it's like a god pedal, and it's not because it's better than a Klon, but it has this really useful low knob, and I feel like it's really great for tone shaping, and it's really just makes it so useful for creating a variety of different overdrive sounds. And yeah, I mean, I have an OCD, and that's fine too, but it's got some issues with it. Maybe that'll be addressed in a future video, so who knows.
This pedal is a clone of a Marshall Shredmaster, notably used by Johnny Greenwood. I got this because I liked his guitar sound a lot and I didn't want to shell out for an actual Shredmaster. I wanted a pedal that could get very close, and this does a great job. It has become my favorite distortion pedal because everything I play into it sounds wonderful to my ears. Nowadays they have reissued Shredmasters that probably sound better and are probably better overall because they have an actual bass pot that sits on top of the pedal as opposed to an internal one, but until this one breaks or crumbles into dust, I'll stick with this one. It has an internal switch for a noise gate, which is handy, and also this bright switch on top, which I find pretty useless because it's so harsh, so it stays off. This is actually my very first guitar pedal. Like many who came before and after me, I probably set it to the worst possible settings and then had the gall to complain that the pedal was bad. It got booted off my board when I bought the Son of Hyde, but I still kept it around because you never know when you need the sound of a DS1. I've used it heavily for my Nirvana covers that you might be familiar with, but more recently I've started to branch out and found uses for it that I never would have before. One of my favorite new uses is when I combine it with the Son of Hyde before it, you can get close to a huge Big Muff type sound.
The pairing and sound of the DS1 with my Marshall Shredmaster clone was the reason why I sold my Big Muff, but more on that in a bit. Overall, I'm starting to warm up to the DS1. I feel like it's far more useful than I originally thought, and I keep seeing videos on the true intended use of the pedal, about how it's supposed to push a moderately gainy amp. And so yeah, I mean, I think it's a really versatile pedal, and certainly more than we all ever thought it was originally.
As you can probably tell in this point in the video, I love cheap guitar pedals. Why pay $200 to get an actual Boss FZ2 when you can get an exact copy of it for 25 bucks? The sound of this clone is phenomenal, and I've heard it's virtually identical. I got this one because I went through an Electric Wizard phase and I wanted to be able to replicate the tones. It's great for that, but I will say the noisiness of this pedal makes it hard to want to use for anything else. Unless there are power chords do not sound great through this thing. Singular note riffs work much better, especially when you have the gain cranked like I do. It's certainly not my favorite fuzz pedal ever because the sound is so specific, but for a $25 specialty effect, I'd say it was worth it.
In terms of fuzz, I actually do prefer a Big Muff style pedal, and I went through 2 big box Big Muffs made in New York, but I sold my last one fairly recently because I felt like there was something off about the volume gain relationship of the pedal. If I were to purchase a new fuzz pedal, I might pick something like the Way Huge Swollen Pickle or like a Ram's Head clone. I'm not really sure what I want, but I think the Ram's Head would probably be the ultimate muff pedal for me. But, you know, anyways, hey, Electro-Harmonix, if you're watching this.
When I started to get into pedals and was looking for a delay, this one was at the top of my list. As a kid, I always liked listening to those Boss sound checks on YouTube, and after I saw this in a catalog, I thought it looked so cool that I had to have it.
Admittedly, the term space echo threw me because I guess I expected it to be more of a digital sounding delay, but younger me was not wise and just threw his money at it. All jokes aside, it is a great pedal, and it's certainly one of my favorite delay pedals. You'll never guess what famous guitar player inspired me to get it. I have used this pedal a lot in my own personal recordings and my own music. I've started to long for something more digital, or just, you know, maybe sort of multi-effects delay and things like that. So I'm kind of hesitant to sell it because of my nostalgia with it and my time with it. But that being said, if I do sell it, I'll probably get like a Boss DD200 because, you know, then it won't feel like the pedal is entirely gone. I decided I wanted a looper one day, and once again I just decided to turn to Johnny Greenwood for inspiration on that. Aside from the looper, I like the features this pedal has. The delay options are a bit different from the Space Echo, which makes it worth keeping around. I also appreciate being able to send the outputs of the tape head separately, so you can plug into multiple amps and create this really deep and rich sonic space. This pedal is broken at the moment, to be honest. I don't even know why it's in the chain. It works most of the time, but it very intermittently has volume dips and stuff. If you know what's wrong with it, or if you know anything that like has to do with that, please just like leave a comment down below if you have an idea of what it could be. I don't think it's a power supply because that is solid, but more on that in just a minute.
The board itself is a Roadrunner large pedal board, and I'm not sure if these are on the market anymore. I think it's a pretty nice quality board, and it's lasted me for years. I mainly purchased it to transport my pedals around for musical theater gigs. I like it. It's probably not the most ideal setup for some, but it was everything I wanted in a board at the time, especially because it serves as a case and a board all in one. It does have a few minor things that I will complain about, the most notable being the outer edge. I feel like it's a bit too tall, and thus you have to be mindful of where you place the pedals because you might not be able to hit them properly, especially these Boss ones. The other complaint I have is I don't believe it would survive in the cargo hold of an airplane. If you wanted to get one that did, it might be better to shell out a bit more money for something more secure. The material seems sturdy enough, but I weirdly fear that I will bend the bottom of the metal from repeated stomping. That said, I've had it for years and it's shown no signs of serious wear. It is a nice board and I feel like it will probably stick with me for a long time. This is my Voodoo Lab Pedal Power 2 Plus. For years I've used various 9-volt batteries to power my pedals and I realized how annoying and wasteful that was. Always having to unplug my pedals and always forgetting to do so the batteries would drain. I bought a 1-spot power supply at some point, which are nice daisy chain power supplies, but when making this board I felt like I needed something serious, so I picked this one because, you know, Johnny Greenwood had one and if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me. A nice power supply is essential for any board. If you're making a board, I highly recommend investing in one. I never think about powering my pedals anymore. In fact, I forget it's even there. It does its job phenomenally well, and I have just enough pedals to where it's the perfect size and has the right amount of power outputs.
We've reached the end. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to see more content like this, please leave suggestions in the comments below. As always, you can support me on Ko-Fi, as well as check out some of my original music on Bandcamp and Spotify, Apple Music, etc. You can also check out my other social media. My Instagram is doing pretty abysmal at the moment, so if you want to follow that, that would be nice. I really appreciate you guys watching and following what I do, and it really means a lot, so thank you for subscribing, and thank you for, commenting and just interacting with my posts in any way. Lastly, here's some pictures of the board through the years, starting from an actual plank of wood to what you see today. And yeah, thank you very much for watching.